All right, let's talk about something that gives almost every German learner a headache. Prepositions. They feel totally random, maybe even a little chaotic. But what if I told you there's a hidden logic to it all? A secret code just waiting to be cracked. Does this feel familiar? You're trying to build a sentence and you just kind of guess which preposition to use. And then you have to guess which case comes after it. Yeah, you're not alone. It's probably one of the most common blunders in the entire language.
But here's the thing, it's not random at all. There is a clear logical system hiding right under the surface. And honestly, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's just dive in. We're going to break down this entire system in the next 5 minutes and hopefully turn all that confusion into confidence. Ready? Let's go. Okay, first things first. We have to figure out the chain of command inside a German sentence. Who's really in charge? Who calls the shots?
So in a normal sentence, the verb is usually the boss. It looks at the object and says you're accusative or you're dative. But the second a preposition walks into the sentence, everything changes. The preposition just takes over. It's the new boss, and it decides the case.
Here's a great way to think about it. The verb is like a parent, right? It makes most of the daily decisions. But when the preposition, think of it as the grandfather, walks into the room, everyone listens to the grandfather. His rule is final. The verb just has to step aside. So we know the preposition is the ultimate boss. Now let's meet the 3 types of bosses you're going to run into. Every single preposition in German belongs to one of these 3, let's call them gangs. First up, you've got the always accusative gang. These guys are super simple. If you see one of them, the noun that follows is always accusative. No exceptions, no questions asked. Super easy. Next is the always dative crew. And just like the other guys, they're completely straightforward. You spot one of these prepositions, you know for a fact a dative noun is coming right up. If you just memorize these 2 lists, you've already solved a huge piece of the puzzle. And then we have the troublemakers, the 2-way prepositions. These are the tricky ones because they can be followed by either accusative or dative. This is where most of us get stuck. But don't worry, there's one simple question that solves the whole mystery. And that brings us to the real heart of the system. For any of those 2-way prepositions, you just have to ask yourself one single question to know exactly which case to use. Here it is, the golden rule. Just ask yourself, is something moving from one place to another? Is there a destination, a change in location? If the answer is yes, you use accusative. If the answer is no, if the action is just happening in one fixed spot, you use dative. That's it. I know that might sound a little abstract, so let's make it real with a perfect example. Think about the difference between going to the park and playing in the park. So, in this first sentence, ich gehe in den Park, I'm moving, right? I'm going from point A, which is somewhere outside the park, to point B, inside the park. That's clear motion towards a destination. And because of that motion, the preposition in triggers the accusative case, den Park. But look at this one. Ich spiele in dem Park. Here, the action, the playing, is all happening within a fixed location. I'm not going anywhere. I'm already there. It's a static location. So this time, in triggers the dative case, dem Park. See that difference? It's all about motion versus location. So whenever you're stuck, it really just boils down to this simple 2-step check. First, ask yourself, is this one of the troublemaker prepositions? If it is, then ask, is there motion to a destination? This little mental checklist will give you the right answer pretty much every single time. Okay, so if you know all the rules, why do we still make mistakes? Well, there's one final layer to this whole system, and this one is all about meaning. Look. Knowing the case rules is the foundation. That's step 1. But real mastery, real fluency, comes from understanding that one tiny little word can mean 5, 6, sometimes 10 different things, all depending on the context. Just take the word auf. You probably learned it means on top of, like on a table. And it does. But it can also mean in when you're talking about a language, or at the market, or of when you say you're proud of someone, or even for when you're waiting for something. This is why just memorizing one translation never works. And that right there is the key takeaway. First, you learn the system, the 3 gangs and the motion versus location rule. That handles the grammar. Then you start learning all the different meanings for each word in context. And that's what gets you to fluency. So the next time you get stuck on a grammar point that just feels impossible, try not to think of it as some random, frustrating rule. Instead, just ask yourself, okay, what's the system here? Because chances are there's a code, and it's just waiting for you to crack it.